Hey guys, what's up? I'm Speo with the Voice of Reason, and today I'm going to show you how you can apply a randomly created gate sequence to an arpeggio to make it sound more rhythmic and more interesting. And for that purpose, I've created this little arpeggio patch right here, which sounds like this. And it's basically just a simple patch in Maelstrom. So for oscillator A, we've got this sine wave wavetable on octave 4. And for oscillator B, we've got the PWM wavetable on octave 5 with the shift up at 20. And both of them run into the filter A, which is on low pass mode on 90 to cut off some of the highs and make it sound more dull and less sharp. The filter B and shaper are turned off. And then this Maelstrom is controlled by this little arpeggiator right here. Just hit right click on the Maelstrom and create an ARP, which is down here, the arpeggiator. And this ARP is on up and down mode on 1/16 and is being fed this little chord sequence right here, which is nothing special really. So, and this all runs into this little reverb unit right here, which is simply on the film score preset with the dry wet at 44 and the decay at 60. So what we want to do now is we want to apply a gate to this ARP, so only a couple of notes are actually coming through to make it sound more rhythmic and more interesting, like I was saying before. And we're going to do this by creating an envelope controlled filter, which is right here, this little gray guy. And on it, we'll bring the frequency down to 0 and the envelope amount up to about 80. So now there's no sound coming through because the frequency is at 0 and the gate isn't triggered by anything. But we're going to change that ASAP by creating a matrix while holding down shift, so it doesn't auto route up. So we'll create a matrix pattern sequencer while holding down shift. And then we'll flip the rack around and connect the gate CV of the matrix into the envelope gate input on the ECF42, the envelope controlled filter. Now that this is set up, these little gates down here, each of this bar is a gate, a trigger, triggers this gate up here, which will then trigger this envelope, which will modulate the frequency. So we've got our gate going on. Don't forget to switch back to another instrument but the matrix, because if you'll hit play and you've got the matrix selected, only the matrix will play and not your whole track. You can now of course play with the envelope amount and the decay on the envelope to alter the way this sounds. But it basically still sounds the same, of course, because we've got a gate all every 16th, and this is just what the arpeggio is triggering as well. So what you want to do to get an interesting gated sound is you want to right-click the matrix and hit Randomize Pattern down here. So we get a nice and random gate pattern, which should sound a lot different and a lot more interesting. Already sounds like something. You can of course always hit randomize pattern again to get another pattern which you like better, maybe. And you can of course also alter the gate pattern by just clicking into here and drawing in new gates and deleting others. And you can of course hit the tie button right here to draw in tied gates. That simply means that a gate is triggered once and then held for as long as there are tied gates next to each other. So if you bring the decay up more, this will then result in a longer gate which will decay slower. And of course, if you don't like it, you can just hit randomize pattern again and you'll come up with another gate sequence. Now this already sounds interesting and all, but I'd like to make it a little bit more complex. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch this little slider here up to curve, so we can see what the curve is actually doing in the matrix. And then we'll flip the rack around once again and connect the curve CV to the frequency CV on the ECF42 filter. Then we'll bring the amount down to about something like 60. And what's happening now is that the frequency is not only being controlled by the gate right here and the envelope, but it's also being controlled by this curve. which makes it sound more complex and more interesting. And now that this is all hooked up, so the curve CV is going into the frequency CV with an amount of 65, and the gate CV is going into the envelope gate, which is controlling the filter with an amount of 76. We can hit randomize pattern on the matrix as often as we want, and we'll always come up with another good sounding pattern. And I quite like this technique to get some inspiration out of randomized patterns, because they usually sound pretty good. So as you can see, we can kind of pull the focus on different aspects of this arpeggio, creating a very interesting and dynamic sound out of this actually pretty boring ARP without the gating. Which sounds very generic, while if we activate this filter on here, which is modulated by the matrix, we get a very original sounding and just rhythmic and cool sound. Okay, I've probably done more listening to this ARP than talking, but I guess I brought my point across somewhat. Okay, this is it for the gated ARP tutorial. I hope this tutorial was useful. If it was, drop a like, that would be much appreciated. My name's been Speo, this was The Voice of Reason. I'll see you next time. Have a good one, or whatever you're having.